Welcome back to Cold Weather Bats, and this week's game of the week brings us one of the premier matchups on the Michigan High School baseball calendar for the week, Jenison versus Hudsonville, a Friday doubleheader between two top 10 teams in the state. These are two programs with high-end pitching, strong coaching, and deep rosters. It's a game that really has big game energy that's going to feel like a June game. We've had quite a bit of warm-up in the weather lately, but with Friday on the radar, rain could be a factor, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. As always, Cold Weather Bats will have full pre- and post-game coverage, interviews, breakdowns, and write-ups that you can find on our social media platforms and our YouTube. So if you're not already following us, now is the time. I'm excited to be joined today by the head coach of the Jenison Wildcats, a program that has been steady on the rise and is looking to take another big step forward this season. Coach Chris Ter Vree. Coach, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me on today.
Coach, you guys are off to another strong start after a 32-win season in 2024. Really, what's been working well early for this group?
First off, it's a great team, great group of guys to coach. We have a great group of guys that get along at all times on the field and off the field. And when you have that, it makes the coaching a lot easier than other teams. It's a group of guys that want to get better each and every day. They come, whether it's practice or the game, they come to the field ready to get better. And they're constantly pushing each other to get better, pushing me to be the best coach that I can be. It's just an exceptional group of guys. And most importantly, they represent our school district extremely well and the right way. So this is just an outstanding group of guys to coach.
Jenison has improved every year under your leadership. What has been some of the key areas of emphasis behind that steady climb year over year?
Well, we've always been a team that stresses, playing defense extremely well and pitching extremely well. And over the 5 years that I've been here, 6 years that I've been here, we have consistently done that. And it's something that we kind of hang our hat on. The other thing that we really preach here is doing the small things extremely well. So we emphasize a lot of our practice time on bunting and bunt defense, the first and third defense. And just, something we preach to our guys is valuing the baseball. So doing everything we can to throw the ball the correct way, catch it, and eliminate those small mistakes that kind of haunt some teams in the area. So we really pride ourselves on those things.
As any team or any coach, for that matter, that's been with a school for a little bit of time and had success, your coaching staff plays a big role in what you have built. What is something behind the scenes that fans or outsiders might not notice, but you as the head coach really appreciate about your staff?
It's our staff from top to bottom, from varsity all the way down to our freshman level is made up of a group of guys that just love coaching baseball and love developing relationships with the players that they have on their teams. So I think it's a group of guys that, again, loves being around guys, loves trying to make our student athletes better, and then just loves the game of baseball. When you look at the varsity staff, I have Mitch Ashcraft, who played at Grand Valley State University, who is in charge kind of our pitching, just does a tremendous job of helping our our pitchers grow on the mound, and then just calls in an outstanding game every single day that we take the field. We added Spencer Cable to our staff this year to kind of focus on the hitting aspect of our program. He played at Central Michigan and also Hope College. He brings just so much to the table about, how can we grow as hitters. And he's really done a lot of the mental approach to the game, which we've seen improve drastically this year. And then we also have Alex Crombine, who has been on our staff for 2 or 3 years. He focuses on the infield and the defensive part of it, making sure that our guys in the correct position during the course of the game. And then, one of the cool things that I can say is that my dad is also on our staff. The guys call him Chef. I don't know exactly how he got that name, but just having that kind of senior presence, that older guy on the bench allows our guys to be able to interact with him, have some fun. And his job is really just to make sure that the guys are smiling and enjoying the game of baseball. So.
So you touched on really your entire staff, but I want to focus in here real quickly on the pitching with you and with Mitch. You have a very deep group with all the pitchers. How do you manage all the talent on the mound while keeping the arms fresh and continuing to develop all of these arms, whether they're on JV or freshmen, or even the ones that are in varsity that might not be getting the same amount of innings as the top guys?
It's hard. It's very difficult to do right now, especially when you look at, before spring break, we were supposed to play 8 games and we were only able to play 3. So right now we still have guys that have not pitched for us this year at the varsity level that are extremely talented. So I think the biggest thing that is allowing us to be successful this year, and it hasn't in the past, is just communication. I'm constantly talking with Mitch about, where we want to go, who we want to pitch, the amount of innings that we want them to get. So communication is very important. The other thing that Mitch does a great job of is he is constantly keeping our guys on a pitch count so that we know that they aren't going to, out throw themselves at the beginning of the year, and we're going to have them throughout the year having the strongest arms that we can have. So Mitch does a great job with all aspects of our pitching staff. And then something that we've done this year is that we've really tried to open up the communication with our pitchers throughout the season. So we're constantly communicating with them about, hey, this is who's pitching this week. This is who's starting. And then, these are the guys that are in relief, so that they can prepare ahead of time mentally to know, I'm pitching today, and this is the expectation that I have for me. And this was something that our seniors brought to us. They wanted to know ahead of time that, they were pitching so that they could prepare. And that just shows extremely good leadership on their part.
You mentioned last year, or you mentioned that last year, your school broke the school stolen base record. How much of your offensive identity is built around applying pressure and forcing mistakes of the opponent?
Tons of it. I think, my first couple of years, other teams in the area, like Hudsonville and like Rockford, were putting pressure on us and making us uncomfortable. And we quickly knew that we had the talent to do the same to other teams around the area. So we, again, put a ton of emphasis on bunting and being able to make people feel uncomfortable. And then the last 2 years, we've put a strong emphasis on base running. So we're teaching our kids to, vault at first base, vault at second base. And we also put a lot on them to make decisions, whether they're going first to third. We want to put, we want to allow them to take on that aggressive kind of demeanor on their own. We don't want to be the coaches saying, hey, let's go. We want them to be the ones that make that decision. And, we allow them to do that. And we think that that's been a big part of the success we've had as far as small ball game goes.
With the success you've had year over year and with the start you've had thus far, who are a couple of guys on your roster that are playing, whether it's the role you expected or a larger role than you expected in what you're trying to accomplish for this season?
Yeah, I think one of the first names that comes right to mind is AJ Park. And I think he has really done well in right field this year, being a strong presence. We have some young guys that are playing the outfield, and he's just shown great leadership as far as, communicating to them the expectations that we have in the outfield. And then we've had an injury this past week, Pierce Ginzer, who was going to kind of man center field for us and also pitch a lot. He came down with a little bit of a hamstring, so AJ actually had to move over to center field. So he's taken on that role, and he's done extremely well with it. So AJ Park defensively has been great for us in the outfield. He's also been hitting extremely well, had some big hits, 3 of them in the game against Hudsonville this past Saturday. So he's done well. So AJ is the first, name that comes to mind. Obviously Case Bosch is a name that kind of everybody thinks about when they talk about Jenison. He's pitched really well this year, but I think what people don't know is he's a fantastic first baseman. He's such a great first baseman. He's got exceptional hands, has a strong arm over there, and he's hit really well for us. So we've had him kind of in that 4 spot. and he's come up with some really big hits for us this year. And both AJ and Case have great leadership skills, and that's what we need from them as well. I think Ben Slaughter has been playing really well at shortstop with us. He's pitched extremely well this year, and he's also swung the bat well. Braden Hlasky is kind of our do-it-all utility guy. We're putting him in the outfield a little bit this weekend to see how he does. Plays infield extremely well, and then he's kind of our go-to guy when we need strikes thrown. So Hlasky's another great guy that's done some great stuff. And then our junior class has really done well this year too. People like Parker Felgner has moved over to second base, played extremely well. He's going to be a name that people around the area are going to hear often come up in the next 2 years. He's done very well. Another senior that's done well is Vince Fanton behind the dish. He's a really solid catcher. Hasn't hit it as good as he wants to, but we know that'll catch up, and he's going to do some big things as the season progresses. So just a bunch of great names right there, great kids that have done well. This past weekend, Ethan Lenzo pitched 2 games for us in the tournament, and he kept both teams off balance, especially Hudsonville. So he's done really well for us as well. So bunch of guys, but again, I could go on and on about guys stepping up. We've really had some guys really done some really good stuff this year.
So it's still early. Obviously, we just touched on with the weather and what's already kind of transpired with having to make up some games as the season goes on. But obviously, the goal is to be playing meaningful baseball deep into June and making it to East Lansing. What does this team need to do between now and then to give itself the best shot at making a postseason run this year?
We just need to continue to get better. I mean, we had a loss against West Ottawa right before spring break, and hats off to West Ottawa. They played extremely well, but there were some things in that game that the coaching staff, wrote down and made a list of and said, hey, these are things that we're going to have to continue to get better at if we want to make a deep run this year. So it's just those small things, being able to know where you're supposed to be on bunt coverages, making sure we're getting outs when teams give us outs, making sure that when we have offensively, when we have guys in scoring position, we don't miss out on those opportunities. We take advantage of them and get those runs in. So I just think it's, continuing to look at each game, point out things that we can continue to get better at, and just continue to improve as the season goes on. I think we also need to have some of our big guys, step up in those big, when those big opportunities are there. We're going to have our big dogs as far as our pitchers pitch some really big games, but we know that there's teams that we're going to, face down the road that really do things the right way, and we're going to have to do the same thing. But we're definitely up for that opportunity, and we're excited about the things that are in front of us.
Coach, really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to chat with us. Great to hear your perspective and see how things are progressing this year at Jenison. Best of luck Friday and throughout the rest of the season. And for everyone tuning in, just a reminder, our Cold Weather Bats game of the week is this Friday's doubleheader between Jenison and Hudsonville, 2 of the best in the state squaring off in a matchup that could have major postseason implications. We've got you covered with full pre- and post-game coverage, interview, analysis, and written breakdowns. Follow us on social media, subscribe on YouTube, and stay locked in for more coverage across Michigan high school baseball.